Kamala Harris has selected Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate for the 2024 presidential election. Walz was elected governor in 2018, and he now stands as the Democratic nominee for vice president in the 2024 presidential election. In this video, we will be taking a look at the 2024 presidential election in light of Harris's vice presidential pick, Tim Walz, as she faces Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. We will start by filling out all of the solid states for each candidate. For Kamala Harris, that would be Washington, Oregon, California, Illinois, New York, Massachusetts, Vermont, Connecticut, and Rhode Island, Maryland, Delaware, and the District of Maine. As for Donald Trump, he will easily take the states of Wyoming, Utah, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska's every single district besides its second district, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, and Ohio. Iowa, too, will solidly go to Donald Trump, South Carolina. And now we'll be moving on to the states that will likely go to each candidate. Starting with Trump and Vance, Trump will likely pick up the states of Florida. In both of the elections, Donald Trump had picked up Florida, and there's no reason he won't pick it up again this election. Texas, too, will solidly go to Donald Trump, as even with Biden looking so strong in Texas last election, he was not able to pick up Texas. Now moving on to the Democrats, Harris will likely win Colorado. Since the last election, the state has become a lot more competitive. So is New Jersey. New Jersey will also likely go to Harris, not by the solidest of margins anymore though. And one of the bigger reasons why these extremely liberal states are becoming competitive is because of the big scandals occurring by the big organizations. New Mexico will also likely go to Harris, so as the state of Minnesota. As Minnesota is Tim Walz's home state, as he was elected governor twice, and I believe he will give the Democrats a boost in most of the Midwest, and I believe Harris will likely win the state of Minnesota. New Hampshire will also likely go to Kamala Harris, as a lot of these states in the North have just shifted right a lot since the last election, and because of Biden's poor performance as the president, a lot of these voters will end up not turning up or voting Republican. Virginia will also likely go to Kamala Harris. The state has become more competitive, but I don't see a reason Harris doesn't win the state, as in its history it has voted blue for a long time. Now moving on to Trump and Vance. Trump will pick up North Carolina, as this state voted for Trump last time, even with Biden, who was arguably a lot stronger of a candidate 4 years ago than Harris is today. The state of Georgia will also likely go to Donald Trump. Joe Biden barely won the state 4 years ago, and now the state since then has just shifted to the right a lot, just like many other states. The state of Nevada will also likely go to Donald Trump. Joe Biden did win the state last election, but when you take a look at the votes and the percentages, Biden did not actually improve upon Nevada as Clinton did in 2016, and the state was already shifting to the right before his 4 years of performance, so Trump should pretty solidly win Nevada. Maine will be solidly going to Donald Trump, as well as Alaska. No questions about this. Donald Trump has performed superior here. Now for the Democrats. The Democrats will solidly win Hawaii, as historically Hawaii has always voted blue, and it will stay the same this time. Maine's other district will likely be going to the Democrats, as again Kamala Harris is just showing strength in there, and the District of Columbia also has always historically voted Democrats. Harris now stands at 225 electoral votes to Trump's 257. And now, we are getting into the battleground states, the states that will determine the 2024 presidential election, starting with the state of Arizona. Arizona will be going to Donald Trump by a very slight margin. And the reason I believe this will be a very competitive race is just because of how close the polls have been showing Harris and Trump. When you take a look at the polls here, you see Trump leading by a very slight 0.5% of a margin. But when you take a look at the actual polls below, Harris leads in a lot of them. But when you take a closer look, it's very back and forth between both of them. So I believe this will be a very close race between the candidates. And now, Donald Trump stands at 269 electoral votes, just one electoral vote away from taking the victory. Kamala Harris has to win all 3 of these remaining states if she wants a chance to become the next president of the United States. Starting with Wisconsin. This state is a critical battleground state, and both Trump and Harris have spent a lot of time and effort in the state very recently. Taking a look at the polls here, we have Harris leading by 1.8%. But one thing to keep in mind when looking at these polls is that they may not completely accurately reflect what is truly accurate. I mean, these polls had Biden leading by massive percentages in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan last election, even though he barely won all of these states besides Michigan. And I just believe that because of Biden's poor performance and the Democratic Party switching candidates so late, I will give the state of Wisconsin to President Trump, which means that Donald Trump has been reelected President of the United States, and he will serve for another 4 years in the Oval Office. This will be the second time ever a president has lost re-election and ran for re-election again after losing. Moving on to the last 2 states though. In the state of Michigan, the Democrats do pull off the win. Out of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, Michigan had voted for Biden by the biggest margin, and based on pollings, Kamala Harris does have a pretty strong lead there. Even though polls can be biased and vary, I will give Michigan to Kamala Harris and the Democrats. And last but not least, we have the state of Pennsylvania, probably the most important state in this entire election. Pennsylvania's 19 electoral votes will be going to Kamala Harris by the slightest of margins. This is probably the biggest toss-up state in the entire race, and it can honestly very much so go to Donald Trump, but I'm giving Pennsylvania to Kamala Harris because as Joe Biden's birth state, I believe there will be massive turnout in this election, which will give Democrats the slight win in Pennsylvania. And that is my 2024 presidential election prediction. Donald Trump wins the presidency with 279 electoral votes to Kamala Harris's 259. Thank you for watching, and please consider liking and subscribing. We do plan on making more of these type of content and exploring deeper into polls and different types of content. Thank you.